Soul and spirit, is it the same thing? Are these just synonyms, or is there a difference to what we're talking about? Then you have the word mind as well, psyche for mind, and it all gets a little bit confusing. We're going to delve into it today, get quite deep, thinking about the nuances of meaning. And this is all part of a Soulful Living series that I'm going to be doing. Already done one about what is the soul. That will be linked at the end if you haven't already seen it. And there are going to be 6 in this series, so we're really building on our understanding and going deeper. Love the word soul. Don't you just love the word soul? Maybe it's a very feminine word. We're going to come on to this in a moment. But it's just, I don't know, it has something very warm and real and human about it. Whereas just using the word mind is, I don't know, we lose something. I think it's because we associate soul with maybe Victorian hymns, Methodist hymns, and also perhaps romantic poetry. You know, the romantic poets would talk about their soul longings and so on. But I think that when we became more scientific thinking and materialist thinking, we just dropped the word soul because of its associations, and I think that's a shame. And I think it's time that we rediscovered the soul, and we remind ourselves and our children that we are souls first and foremost. We are soul, mind, body, spirit, whatever you want to say, complex as one indivisible whole. You see, we can think that because they have different names that we're talking about different things. That would be logical, wouldn't it? But it's actually one psychosomatic whole. If you go back to Jewish teaching and thinking, that was certainly the understanding that the person was, there wasn't this dualism of the spirit being separate from the body. That came about as a result of this milieu out of which Christianity was born. So you had Greek thinking, Hellenistic culture, and you had Jewish thinking, like fusing together. And so there was a sense of Platonic idealism. If you know about Plato, he had these ideal forms, this sense that what is real is so much purer and better than what we have in the material. This is a sort of poor copy of the original, if you like. And so that certainly, became part of Christian thinking. In fact, it does remind me of what Paul says in, I can't remember, is it in Corinthians? I'm not sure. What we see now is we see dimly as if through a dim mirror. And one day we'll see face to face, yeah? So we do get those that Platonic thinking and the influence of Greek dualism in what we've inherited in Christianity. But we know all too well, we're rediscovering that the body is a complex, the body is a mind, this idea of the mind affecting the body, psychosomatic, mind and body together, and how the mind thinks will show up in the body, yeah? And so with holistic health now, we're coming to really rediscover that truth. Everything that I know about, it's important to actually say at this point that everything that I know about this has largely come from my own experience in what some would call holistic health as a reconnective healing practitioner. Because the experience of healing for myself and others the experiences I've had that continue to amaze me, although I'm starting to just realise that this is reality now. I take it, I see things so differently that it's become the new normal, that people respond to vibrational changes, and changes happen in the body as a result of what's happening to consciousness. More about this as we go on. So I had to make sense of and rethink my understanding about soul, spirit, mind as a result of what I knew and was experiencing myself and witnessing in others through my practice as a reconnective healing practitioner. So I now think of these things, as different layers of reality. One reality, but different layers of it that are to do with vibrational frequency. And so we have at a very kind of heavy and dense level, or a slow vibrational frequency shows up as materiality. Okay? And then as we raise our vibrational frequency, as those frequencies get higher and faster, they become lighter, more ethereal, more sublime and purer, if you like. And that's when we're moving down or up and down through these layers. And I think of soul as being the container for all of that. All of this is based on an understanding that everything is energy, light, energy, and information in particular. And this is what we talk about in healing, in reconnective healing. Everything is information in the sense that it's coded. And your soul indeed is a unique configuration of light, energy, and information. It's coded for a particular purpose, and that's what makes you as an individual unique. The soul is a unique, I made some notes earlier, the soul is a unique data pattern and can function at different vibrational frequencies. So what we're saying is the soul, it can move between these vibrational frequencies. And there isn't a place at which it can't go. There isn't a ceiling where it can't pass beyond, because the soul, remember, is a spark of the divine, made in the image of God, Source. So it's a fractal of Source, energy, light, and information. It's filtered down because it's configured in a certain way. So my configuration is slightly different to your configuration. If you're someone who's into astrology, this will make sense to you, because there are certain, alignments that had to be just right for your personality to be shaped in the way that it is. And all of that was chosen. And it was chosen ultimately by you, or by God in the dream that is you. And we'll be talking more about that as we go on, and when we come to talk about the soul contracts and pre-incarnational contracts that we all make. Your computer can operate at different levels depending on the program that you're running. If you're running on a certain software program, you only have certain functionality. And so when we are in the body, we are operating entirely through the 5 senses and in a 3D model. And it's a model that we're all playing and functioning within that program. Yeah? So we're sharing that interface, if you like. And we each have an avatar. And that's the way we look in this physicality, in this flesh suit body. But that's just a frequency. It's because we're within a bandwidth that's how reality shows up for us. And if we turn the dial up, then we will move into a different form of being. we're the same being, essentially, ontologically. We're the same. And this is why I like to think of soul being that kind of container. I sort of visualize it as an egg, like a capsule that just encapsulates all of it, the body, mind, and spirit. But if we turn the dial up, then we're functioning more in our light body. And I always say that when I do reconnective healing. And I know those of you who join me on a Friday for Let's Reconnect Live, you say it too. We say, look, let's just remember that we are souls. Switch from role awareness, which is when we're in that game playing the avatar with everybody else who's playing their avatars. We switch our awareness to being a soul, and then we begin to notice subtle changes. That's because the vibrational frequency is changing. Roy's going to bark any minute. I can hear him. He's sat in the windowsill looking out at what's happening out there, and I can just hear a little rumbling. There you go. Knew it was going to happen. When we share the reconnective healing on Let's Reconnect Live each Friday, you tell me you're feeling tingles. When I start talking about it or thinking about it, I start to feel these tingles. And I say, this is the subtle body. We're actually moving into our awareness of our subtle body. Yeah? And so that's where my understanding comes about it being like a dial that can be turned really all the way up and can be turned down again, depending on our functionality, depending on what we're needing to do, where we're showing up. Okay, for everyday life, we are operating very much in the 3D, and so our vibration is there, but just with a thought, we can turn it up. And isn't it wonderful to know that the more that we do that, we're just realizing that this is all soul. We don't stop being soul when we're doing our ordinary everyday activities and being very much 3D role self. We don't stop being a soul, and that person doesn't go away when we're deep in meditation or in a reconnective healing session and we're experiencing these amazing things and feeling this bliss and feeling this heightened awareness. We're not separated out from the body. It's always happening at the same time. So I that's new to me. It might not be new to you, but that for me is a new understanding. And I think that comes from the way that we have been taught what soul is. I looked up on the internet the meaning of soul, because the word is psyche, as you will know. And this is the definition that I read. Soul, mind, spirit, or individual animating entity which occupies the physical body. Now, I didn't like that. I want to say straight away that that is where my thinking originally came from, and that reflects how I was brought up to believe that. And in the first video I made, we were talking the soul is not in the body. That's one of the things that we mention. Because that word occupies the body, it has this sense that there's a duality, and that one day the body will stop functioning and the soul will just disappear, and somehow the soul is inhabiting the body. No, that's not my understanding now. So I prefer this idea of land. I had this image of land. Sometimes I bring these little cards with paintings on. I haven't done a painting today, but I want you to visualize land. Imagine that we're just taking a slice of land and we're looking at it sideways on, a bit like you would slice into a cake. You've got these layers, haven't you? You've got the topography, you've got the vegetation on the top, then you've got your soil below, and then you've got your rock and your different sedimentary rock and all of that in layers. And so if we think of that as a metaphor, we can say that what's showing up on the top, all that vegetation and stuff, is the physical. That's where the vibration is in 3D reality, and it's what's visible to us on earth, in this earthly reality as we know it. But then all of that shows up in the physical could not happen were there not other stuff going on below. So the trees, the vegetation, everything is nourished from beneath what's going on below the surface. And of course, at first you have the soil. So we could say the soil is like the psyche, and the psyche or mind is very much still at a place where we're functioning in form and shape and pattern. Yeah. So psychics are reading the ethers. We talk about the ethers sometimes, and that's what's sort of there, that's just before it comes into materiality, what's in the ethers, and it's just about to manifest. But it's still very similar. So a psychic will see things, will see people, images, symbols. Archetypes are all about symbols, okay? And that's how what's going on beneath speaks to us. This is how the unconscious comes to us in dreams, for example, as well. And so we're still in the arena of form. And then the lower we go, the deeper we go. We get down to the water. We get down, it's like a well, the spring beneath, that is really the source of everything. So nothing can show up above land, to come back to that metaphor, nothing can show up unless it's being nourished from beneath, from the water. And of course, water is spirit. I just saw this. I remembered that I'd read about Psyche in Greek mythology. She is a Greek goddess, Psyche, and she is the goddess of the soul, often represented as a beautiful woman with butterfly wings. And the name Psyche means soul and butterfly in Greek. I love that because, of course, the butterfly with wings indicates this moving through, being able to fly, being able to be a multi-dimensional being, which of course we are, because we are souls. And just as angels were depicted with wings to indicate that they can, they're shapeshifters, they can move quickly through the dimensions. They can be anywhere and everywhere at once. They're not limited by dense materiality. So too the soul. And how lovely to think of the butterfly as the symbol of soul. I didn't know that, actually. That's quite new to me. And of course, it also alludes to the transformation, because the butterfly complete is a transformation, a complete metamorphosis, isn't it, from the cocoon, the little cocoon, and then having wings and being able to fly, so being all contained within that cocoon, just as we may feel contained temporarily within our bodies. I'm getting tingles as I'm saying this, so maybe this is touching on truth, that the body vehicle is in a way our cocoon, but the soul is free. Always has been, always will be. And it isn't until the point, I think the main thing is, it isn't until the point of death that the soul is released from the body. The soul isn't in the body being trapped. It's about vibrational frequency and turning up that dial. And we can function in different levels, at different levels of vibrational frequencies in the here and now. Okay, don't have to wait till you die to visit heaven, okay, to be in heaven. And that's the main teaching, I think. And it's brilliant. I love it. I love it. Also worth mentioning that the word, the translation of Psyche, because it's also in Roman mythology, not just Greek mythology, this idea of the soul. Roman mythology, the direct translation is anima in the Latin. So the Latin for psyche is anima, and that is a word, of course, that Jung used, Carl Jung. in his model of the soul, his depth psychology. And I just found that wonderful, because of course he has the anima and the animus as the feminine and the masculine, which are entirely integrated when a person is an individuated human being. Okay, that's the whole, if you like, the goal of therapy, of depth psychology, is to integrate, and to individuate is to integrate the masculine and the feminine aspects. And so we have Logos, which is the masculine, and we have Sophia, or Psyche, which is the soul, in the Pistis Sophia. So I'm actually referring now to other things we've spoken about, if you've been with me for a long time on this channel. If not, there is a playlist called The Deepening, which is all about the Pistis Sophia, and we will be picking that up again, but alongside this. So this teaching is kind of runs alongside, so that we're able to, everything's making sense and fitting together in our understanding. Now, for some reason I lost audio then, it cut off, I don't know why. For about another 10 minutes I was still talking about spirit, but never mind, I will make another video. I'll save that for next time, and I'll talk about the dynamic between soul and spirit in a whole video to itself. There was quite a lot more I wanted to say, but maybe 20 minutes is enough. I just wanted to say thank you for watching right to the end if you're watching this, and also to remind you about Let's Reconnect live every Friday. We're back to the usual routine. I'll be here at 2 p.m. UK time. Do join me if you can, and if you can't, then watch the replay, because people say they still experience these amazing frequencies when they watch the playback. So good to have you on board, and see you then, and let's reconnect. Till next time, take care. Bye for now.